Have we started? Are we taping?
We're recording now. Okay. So, describe Grandpa, his characteristics, his mannerisms, who he was as a person.
His characteristics?
Hang on 1 second.
He was feisty. He was full of energy. He was, he was a go-getter. He was always on the go. He was, like I said, full of energy and just, yeah. The dog. Anyway.
What's your earliest memory of him?
Earliest memory? God. Oh boy. I suppose going to baseball games, him taking me to baseball games when I was young. Maybe when we went to the Colorado trip. Was one of that was the one trip that we went on, I think, when we were growing up, was the Colorado trip. And that was, I can't remember, but we were pretty young there. He used to take me over to the Lappy place on his shoulders every once in a while in the winter time. He'd carry me as far as he could till I got to be too big for him. So.
What was it like working with him?
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. You want me to give you some stories?
Let's hear some stories.
Yeah. Well, I think he expected you to teach you something, to show you how to do something once or twice, and you pick it up immediately. I remember one time, one of the pasture fences, you had to kind of lean on it and leverage it to kind of get the wire up over the top of the fence, and I was probably maybe 10 years old, and I barely weighed 70 pounds, and it took all I could get to try and get the leverage, and I couldn't get the fence open. And I remember him coming out of the truck saying something like, "Geez, you're 10 years old and don't know how to open a fence." So that was, yeah. So you really, after that, made sure that you paid attention and really focused on learning it the first time. But, if you didn't learn it the first time, he made sure to drill it into your head so that you learned it eventually. So there was some times where Jeff and I would be in the haystack, tromping down the hay, and we would always talk like he was crazy because those forks on the end of the hay thing were basically almost poking us in the stomach, and he was almost knocking us off the side of the haystack sometimes. So yeah, there were some interesting times. And then there was a time me and Doug were pinned down in the back of the cattle barn, and Dad got kicked by one of the steers and did this 180 roll out, grabbed a 2x4 and went after the steer to seek revenge on it. And me and Doug are sitting pinned up against the back of the barn oh. So yeah, there were some intense times, but overall good times. So.
What values do you think you tried to instill in your kids?
Oh boy. Work hard, play hard. He wasn't a big party animal, but he always took time out to go to all of our sports events. And we worked hard, though. I didn't work very hard because I was the youngest, but he always did and made sure we were taken care of. So, but he never missed a sporting event of mine, and there was plenty of them. So he always, that's something that I always try to do now is, make sure I'm there for family events. So.
What's your favorite memory of them?
God, I don't know if I can think of a single one. Just a lot of times looking up in the stands, and he was there. He was always there for me. So.
How did he discipline you?
Oh, he was. He never had to hit me. Because when he said, straighten up, you knew he meant it, and you pretty much got in line right at that point. There was never there was no need for a second warning ever. So. Once he told you to get in line, you pretty much knew that you'd better do it, or there was a beating coming. So.
I heard he was your baseball coach for a period of time.
Yes, he was. Oh boy, he was a good coach. Him and Uncle Nick were our coach, and nobody else would coach us because we were just a bunch of derelicts running around out there. So he took it upon himself to coach us, and yeah, there were some interesting events during that. I remember one time I was pitching, and I think I'd given up 10 or 15 runs, and I kept looking over like, are you going to take me out of this game or not? Because, again, after so many runs, it was ridiculous. And finally, he comes storming out, and I think Scott Hart was catching, so I threw the ball to Scott because he was pretty much the only other guy that could pitch. And my dad was like, give me that ball right now. And then he handed it to Scott, so he wanted to make sure he knew that he was in charge. So, but...
What's your funniest memory of your grandpa?
Oh, well, the scariest and funniest, like I said, was when there was another one where Jeff and I were working on one of the steel sheds, one of the shelter sheds for the cattle, and we were putting some big aluminum panels on the top of the barn, and one of them, I don't know who it got loose or something, and almost came down and sliced Dad in half, and we're like, be careful, and Dad was like, what? There was never anything to worry about. So he was pretty much just kind of playing it off like he had a way of doing that, to where he was just always Mr. Calm and cool, and didn't want to let his guard down that anything could ever happen to him. So
what was your worst memory of him?
Probably when he passed away. When he was just really weak at the end. It was tough to see him in that condition, being as strong as he was for us. So,
if you had one more day to spend with him, what would you do?
Boy. It's a good question. I'd want him to see my wife, Paige. Because that's the happiest I am, is with them. So I'd want him to see with my family. Spend a day with us.
That's all I got.
Jeez.